daisy chains, and flipping. The old Clintonian style land scheming and scamming. You see, ladies and gentlemen, beginning in the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, America experienced a rather lucrative phenomena called the real estate fraud swindle. It was so lucrative that the Clintons and the Bushes and the Obamas and the Trumps, Donald Trump's been doing this for a long time, they speculating in dirt deals, speculating in flips, speculating in daisy chains, so massively that the entire banking system crashed more than once at an expense of trillions. Trillions, ladies and gentlemen. Poof, right up in smoke. And the only reason people don't really get all that excited about it is simply because the United States Congress and the Senate allow the Federal Reserve, that private gang of corporate whores, the private reserve just prints the shit right out of thin air. I've done many videos explaining how $100 reserve note costs, let me see if we can get this in here now. Yeah, 15 cents. $100 reserve notes cost 15 cents each. So, man, you can print a endless, never have to stop, gargantuan, never-ending pile of $100 reserve notes from the profits from the first bill. Now, this is how you finance the deep state, and this is how you finance the swamp. And then you go on to baffle and bullshit the American populace, which is not all that hard to do. Most Americans have trouble counting their change after they get a cheeseburger at McDonald's. Most Americans don't have a clue. They've got some kind of an idea that reserve note money, the paper money of the central bank, is just okay with them. They don't figure it out. They don't have the mental powers to consider how wrong it has gone. How wrong it has gone. Boy, that's the name of a book right there. Trillions wandered off, man, just vanished, waltzed off with the Bushes and the Bakers and the candlestick makers, the Trumps and the Clintons, and the list just goes on. Maxine Waters, Dianne Feinstein, Chucky Schumer, Andy Cuomo. William Weld. The so-called Illuminati, the celebrities of the American political scene, have been showered with this crap that's printed from absolutely nothing. And then, of course, you've got Julian Assange and Alex Jones and all these other clappers and trappers and, Barack Obama and Mueller and Comey. And they're all running this great big smoke and mirrors Russia Spygate, Russiagate crap to keep you distracted with the war with Iran and the war with Iraq and all the other bullshit they throw at you to keep you from asking the important question. How in the hell did they walk off with trillions? And did any of those trillions finance the swamp? Are they financing the deep state with all this stolen money? And the answer is, oh, hell yes, they are. Now, it all began for me, I guess, back in the 1970s, after my parents got swindled on the smartest lake in the world. How's that? Rensselaer Polytechnical Institute and Lake George Association. The smartest lake in the world up there at old Lake George, where my parents got swindled out of their 600 acres at Harris Bay. I've been following these real estate games and financial swindles pretty much ever since. Actually, I must be honest. It began one day at my grandmother's house. I picked up a Reader's Digest while she was fixing her hair and getting her purse so we could go to Barber's Market. We were going to do her weekly grocery shopping, and I was sitting in her living room, and I picked up a Reader's Digest, and I began to read a friggin' story. I began to read a friggin' tale about massive real estate frauds and swindles in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and it was written by Paul Friggins. It was entitled Beware of the Ranchero Racketeers and the Bushes and the Clintons and the Donald Trumps of the world. Beware of the Ranchero Racketeers, and I've been involved in this ever since. I am one of the most prolific investigative researchers and publishers of materials that show that the dirt dealing Donald Trump, the dirt dealing Hillary Bill Clinton, the dirt dealing Christopher Wray, hell, the dirt dealing William Barr. Come on, William Barr, let's talk about all that dirt dealing, flipping and daisy chains, and how in the hell people like Comey and Mueller in the FBI and the Department of Justice swept most of it under the rug. I said that absolutely correctly. They swept most all of this under the rug because guess how they're paying to subvert the American electoral process? Guess where all the money's coming from, and guess who's writing the checks to subvert America? Now, this is an invitation to Julian Assange and Alex Jones to let's have a discussion about the 26th floor of the Houstonian Estates, Mr. Jones. You don't have the backbone. And Julian Assange, you're such a bullshit artist that you just don't even have the ability to talk about the 26th floor of the Houstonian Estates. And hell, never mind what went on over at the Galleria there off of Westheimer, right behind the Western Bank. Yeah, that's right, Mr. Clapper. That's right, Mr. Ray. William Barr, George Bush, Bill and Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Barack Obama. Let's talk about the hotel at the Galleria on Westheimer in Houston, Texas. And you can gather up James Baker III and Joanna Herring King, and I guess if Congressman Charlie Wilson was still alive, with Senator John Tower and Ron Brown. Remember old Ron Brown, the Commerce Secretary? And you could get, oh hell, I don't know, get Michael Atkinson, and you can get Radabaugh Blair there. Nelda. Let's get old Nelda Radabaugh. Get Nelda Radabaugh, the debutante of the loose real estate fortune at the Woodlands, Texas. And get Secret Service agent Rick Williams. And let's bring in, the Houston FBI and the Houston Department of Justice, the Assistant U.S. Attorney's Office there of former U.S. Attorney Henry Onken. Come on, Henry Onken, if you're still alive out there, let's get W.B. Etheridge and Judge Alan Barb Sadler and Federal Judge Lee Rosenthal, and we can get Federal Judge Lynn Hughes, and let's talk about the goings-on between the Clintons and the Bushes on the 26th floor of the Houstonian Estates. How about it? Come on, Christopher Wray. Don't you have the stomach for it? America, this subversion of the Republic has been going on for decades. It's not Russiagate. It's not Spygate. It's not that Donald Trump has been targeted. Millions of Americans have been targeted by this dirty old whore called the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Let's ask those crooked assholes about the 26th floor of the Houstonian Estates. Let's get a hold of that Just Us department And let's have a discussion on Lamar Terrace and the good old triad mafia of Khashoggi, Ghabanifar, the Bin Ladens, the Bushes, and the Clintons. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? The triad mafia operating from Lamar Terrace, right there all around the Houston Galleria Mall on Westheimer. George Bush, you guys are the biggest criminals in the history of the United States. You and your pals, Mr. Georgie Bush, and Laura, you're married to the mob. Why don't you try to get out, Laura Bush, and your cutesy little freaking hairdo. Babs and George Sr. with the dirtiest dogs in history. The Bushes. Right there from the 26th floor of the Houstonian Estates, doing business with, you guessed it, the Western Bank of Westheimer and 1300 Main Street, Houston, Texas. With Charlie Wilson and Joanna Herring King and all those weapons suppliers that North and Seacord and, oh God, the list, Bobby Corson, Michael Atkinson, the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. Right, Bud McFarland? So there's a fabulous little factoid for everybody. Is old Bud McFarland from Glens Falls, New York. Tell them where I'm from, Bud McFarland. You know. Wow. Broad Acres, Glens Falls. How about that, Bud McFarland? I think the McFarlands lived over on Grant Avenue or somewhere over in there. Right, Bud McFarland? From Glens Falls, New York. Now, I know this video seems to be ranting and raving a little bit, but let's ask that fat, bloviated piece of crap, Alex Jones, about the 26th floor of the Houstonian Estate. And Julian, oh, good old Julian Hassan, he takes credit for everybody else's work. Hey, Julian Hassan, how are they financing Charlie Wilson's war? And Julian, weren't they doing that right from Houston, Texas with Tom Hanks? Isn't that where you learned your history about Charlie Wilson's war? Julian Hassan is from that movie with Tom Hanks. That's where WikiLeaks got its information. You're a fraud, Hassan. Just nothing but a cheap hoodlum. And you're a convenient little fraud for the CIA, the Department of Justice, us, and the Federal Bureau of Traitors and Renegades and Criminals. The Federal Bureau of Criminals, the FBI. Now that 26th floor of the Houstonian Estate is quite an interesting place. And the reason I'm so familiar with that 26th floor of the Houstonian Estates is I spent an awful lot of time there at Interfin Plaza and over at Four Seasons and down at Four Oaks and all over Interfin and the Transco Towers. And I worked all over Houston, Texas, from Allied Bank of George Michener to the Texas Commerce Bank, First City Bank. And as history reveals, Madam Hillary Clinton, the massive clandestine black operations financing of Iran-Contra and Charlie Wilson's war and all that crap going on in Panama and all that BS going on in the Philippines and in Saudi Arabia and in Dubai. Oh boy, they love Dubai, Singapore, and the French Riviera. They love that French Riviera. You know, Monaco, where the operators of the Western banks like to play on the yacht basin. The same Western bank that Nelda Luce, Blair, and the Blair tax collection law firm occupies at 1300 Main Street, Houston, Texas, downtown. Right, Nelda? So to Christopher Wray and William Barr, I think it's kind of time to take a real hard, long, close look at what precisely went down at the 2600 floor, the 26th floor of the Houstonian Estates, with the Clintons and the Bushes manifesting their clandestine black operations, outlaw criminal private wars. You think gun walker is a big deal? How do you think they were moving all those weapons around in Texas out of the Southwest Depot using Buffalo Airlines out there at old Waco, Texas? Did he say Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas? He sure did. Buffalo Airlines in the Southwest Depot. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave it right there. And, you know, trillions out of thin air. Trillions poof up in smoke. Trillions vanish and walk off. How do you think that they're financing all this subversion and this treason against the American people through rigging their elections? Where do you think all that money's coming from? Well, money, it's fiat currency, the reserve note hocus pocus bullshit that comes from thin air. Folks, I'm leaving it right there, and look for all the links below. And if you got any questions, just chime in and ask some questions, and I'll shoot you back some answers. Hasta la vista. God bless, and you betcha we'll try to get back.